Welcome to Wack and Trash Recap, the movie recap podcast. Today I want to talk about cheese.
What about cheese?
Cheese, if you please. I like cheese on my knees. We're gonna be Dr. Seuss today.
On your knees?
Yeah, it's the only thing I could think of that rhymes with cheese in the moment. We're not talking about Dr. Seuss. In fact, we are talking about the Canadian claymated series, Wallace and Gromit. Boy, this is a good intro.
I'm sorry.
And if you've never seen it before, well,
You're in luck.
because we did. All right, let's hop on down this trail and get started.
Ooh, good pun.
Thanks. I'm trying to be more
It's
funny.
because of rabbits.
Thank you for explaining that to the audience. We don't think you're dumb.
Just in case.
Okay, we start off on a very long montage, on a very long pan with the camera through a house. We don't know whose house. Actually, we can conclude that it's Wallace and Gromit's house.
It's pretty clear.
Because on the walls is a bunch of pictures of this like sequence of Wallace being led away by cheese, and then Gromit is like, "That's my cheese," and then they have like a little fight, and then they make up, and it's really cute. And at the end of that, Wallace has his arm around Gromit, and they're buddy again.
Best friends for life.
It's a long intro, just to pan outside the window and look up at the moon, and to have the dramatic intro of getting, what's the title? The title card. The title card flashing, "Curse of the Were-Rabbit," and then it gets all hairy. It's pretty cool. It's a good effect for claymation, I would say.
Yep. And then we're getting introduced to the town.
Yep.
A little bit. And you get the vibe that they're into vegetables.
They love their vegetables a lot.
A lot.
Everybody has a garden, which I don't know how many people they know have gardens. I know my mom and dad, and that's about it. My mom and dad.
This takes place in an older time period. People were more agrarian back then.
Well, sure, but not everybody had a garden.
Well, apparently.
Not everybody loved their vegetables that much.
Well,
I
there was
can
also
tell you that.
fruit. There was also fruit involved.
Was there?
But I guess really most of it is fruit, considering.
Oh, well, there was
vegetables
watermelon.
just like yeah.
So anyway, we get introduced to this town, and we understand that everybody loves their vegetables very, very much. However, there is a big bunny problem in this part of the world, and it's never said where we are, but we can assume that it is
Definitely England somewhere.
England. Yeah, because a lot of people.
I
have
would
English
just assume
accents.
that based on everybody having an English accent, but hey, that's
Well, not everybody. Well, does Wallace have an English accent? Would you call it English? Yeah, no, it is. Yep, you're right. I was thinking. Why was I thinking Canadian? Is it a Canadian
at the beginning
studio?
of this, and I thought that the people who made it must have been Canadian.
I think
you knew something I didn't.
I think it was a Canadian studio.
Well,
I don't know. Anyway, this is the long. Okay, back to the story. There's a rabbit problem going on, and this rabbit is going through somebody's garden in the backyard, and then up pulls Wallace and Gromit, our dynamic duo, the heroes.
Well. So it says that they're protected by. Oh God, what is the company's name? Keep away.
Nope. No.
Save a pest.
No.
Watch out. We're gonna get you.
I'm gonna remember later on. And then I'm gonna
Mormon
shout it out.
pesticide.
Mormon?
Wallace is 1,000% a Mormon.
Why?
He just gives off the Mormon vibe. Does he not? If you saw a little black
know what
pin
that
that said Elder Wallace, you want to tell me you wouldn't be like, yeah.
He had a pin on that said Elder Wallace.
If he did, you would not be surprised. That's what I'm saying.
He didn't in the film. What? Where is this coming from?
Anyway, they run this pest company.
Yeah,
and
pest
so
control.
They call Wallace and Gromit, and they have a very fancy invention and contraption that wake them all up.
It's the early version of what's that called? What's that? There's a name for that system.
No, not a Goldberg.
Goldstein? Goldblum. Thank you, Jeff.
Regardless, it's a very fancy machine, and there's an alarm clock with cheese on it, and then Wallace wakes up to the smell of cheese, but then the cheese falls back and he smacks his face against the wall, which is quite the way to wake up every morning.
Well, and then the beds shoot them backwards down these slides, and then they get their hats like corkscrewed onto their heads, and then they put their boots on before their clothes, which I think is a very interesting choice. But apparently it fits. And
yeah,
then
if it worked for them.
Well, and the gravity on their coffee is quite impressive, the way that they calculate that out.
So they get in the van and then and they pull up to the fortune tower to catch the rabbit.
And they do. They catch that little rabbit.
And it takes a second, but they get it. And everybody and their grandma is like, woohoo! You
At,
did
like,
it! You saved everybody!
2:00 in the morning.
Yeah, they're very hyped because vegetable competition is coming up.
It's like 4 days away.
Yep, and it is whoever can grow the largest vegetable wins. I mean, what more do you need to know? And so everybody is particularly,
Anti-pesto.
anti-pesto.
There it is. I was like, it has something to do with pesto sauce.
No, it would not be anti-pesto because pesto had a lot of cheese in it, right?
Correct, yeah.
Yeah.
Wallace loves cheese, by the way.
Yeah. So the competition coming up. So everybody is on high guard. They're tense. They're on edge. And that's why they care so much about the rabbit infestation.
Correct, yes.
But the cool thing about anti-pesto is that they are humanitarians.
Correct.
Yep.
And they do not kill their rabbits, which I guess we'll put a pause on that because we go further into that a little bit later.
I thought I would like the next scene.
So, okay, we cut to the next day, and we see that this big contraption thing has to wake Gromit up, or Wallace up again. He can't do anything simply. It just has to all be manufactured. He's an inventor. All right, he's an inventor. He wakes up. He comes shooting down the slide. Gromit prepares his breakfast for him, and he shoots it over to him. And it's like a couple of vegetables, like a carrot and onion or whatever. Which eating an onion for breakfast is wild, unless it's with eggs or something.
And Gromit's like, "Oi, what?" Wallace.
Wallace.
Sorry.
Yep.
"Oi, what this?"
And Gromit says his usual nothing, and he's like, "Oh, good lad, keeping me on the diet. You gotta lose those pounds, don't you know? Although I have an invention that can cure this permanently." And he like clicks a lever. I might be skipping ahead a little bit, but anyway, he clicks a lever. I'm doing this off of memory. He clicks a lever, and down comes what they call the Brain-O-Matic, and he's like, "This will engineer me to not eat junk food anymore. Any thought that I put into this thing, and then there I will be mind controlled, basically."
He's going to replace his love for cheese with a love for vegetables. That's the plan.
It's a pretty good plan.
As he's reaching for the lever, and
Gromit's
Gromit
just
is like,
shaking.
"Don't do it." Like this, self-made like lobotomies are a bad idea. "Oi, Gromit, hey with that."
Hello, is this anti-pesto? Yes, I have quite a bit of rabbits in my yard, and I was hoping you could come get them for me. This is Lady Tottington, by the way.
Lady Torrington. "Oi, we're gonna be successful, Gromit."
And then he shoots off into this car, and she said, "Hello, I can't wait now. Hello." And then we hear ding dong. Oh, that was so fast. And she answers the door, and who is it but Victor Quartermain?
I couldn't remember his first name. I was like, I know it's Quartermain, but I was gonna say Alan, but that's not. Wrong Quartermain.
Victor Quartermain is her dater.
Wannabe quarter.
Yes. I can't tell if they have a relationship or if he's really pushing for a relationship.
It almost seems.
It seems like they
seems arranged, but we never see any sort of like parents around. So.
Right. I mean, because she's the lady of the house. So he calls on her, and he's the most flauntist.
He's got this giant hairdo that sticks up to the sky.
Think of a mullet on steroids, but without the sides.
Yep.
And he has this little dog too. I don't know if we ever know his name. I think it's like Brute or something like that.
Sir Nibbit.
Nibbit in the bud.
It does sound like he seems like a nibbit if you were to see him.
And he's like, "What all for you, my love?"
Oh, thank you so much.
And in waltzes Mickey Mouse. Totty, I see you have a bit of a rabbit problem in your yard. Want me to take care of it for you?
No, you can't. I want to take care of the rabbit humanely. No killing them.
Oh, but it's so much fun. I'll do it so they don't even feel pain. And then he points at a rabbit, and he's about to kill the thing, when all of a sudden it gets it gets sucked into the rabbit hole, and we see the rabbit floating up and up and up and towards heaven. At least it thinks it's heaven, and then
then it sees other rabbits, and it's like, oh, I guess we all just got like murdered together. But no. Anti-pesto to the rescue with the bunny vac. It's basically a shop vac for bunnies, and you stick it in one rabbit hole, and it sucks everything via the tunnel system. It has
massive amounts of suction.
Massive suction power.
But does not destroy the yard somehow.
Well, that's just the beauty of the bunny shop vac engineering. Wallace knew what he was doing. He was putting that together. So all the bunnies end up there. Victor Quartermain. Victor, right?
Yep.
His massive hair turned out just a toupee. And so it gets sucked in there. And then he starts getting sucked in there. And while that's happening, Lady Tottenham is like, oh, what is this contraption?
And Wallace is like, "Oh, your ladyship, this is the bunny's magic 3000 or whatever." And he said, "It sucks them all up humanely."
Oh, that's lovely. I love a good humane.
And then we hear we hear a bit. Better pull it up, Gromit. We got a big one here. And they pull it up, and it's Victor because he got sucked into the hole.
Yep. And so they spit him out, and he's all like, I do say that was awful, this contraption, and let me get my toupee back.
I want to pay. Well, we take cash or credit. My hair, you idiot! I want my hair. He reaches into the bunny bag or whatever it is, and he pulls out what looks like to be his hair and puts on his head. Turns out it's actually another little rabbit. And poor guy gets walked away with.
And Lady Tottenham and Wallace are like,
How adorable. Although, that rabbit didn't survive as soon as he found out.
maybe you
They
got
just
away.
let that rabbit die. But anyway, during the conversation before Victor walks away, he's like, "So how do you take care of these bunnies? Do you shoot them? You fire them up or whatever?" And they're like, "It's a trade secret." So we go back to Antipesto's lab now, or home base, if you want.
Yep.
And we see that they do actually keep all the rabbits in cages. But they're multiplying quite a bit, and there's a lot of them. There's far too many of them.
Multiplying like, well, rabbits.
They're getting into the kitchen, they're getting into the fridges, and
It
they're just
is
like,
chaos.
"What are we going to do with all these bunnies?" And Wallace is like, "If only there was a way to take away the desire for food," basically. He says vegetables, but when you think about it, if they take away their desire for vegetables, it's a desire for food.
I was wondering this. If they take away the love for vegetables, that's the thing, what are they going to eat?
Would you rather them become carnivores?
That's exactly what I think.
No.
That's how you get the Monty Python rabbit, you know?
It's a terrible idea. That's where
Wallace
he's like,
hooks up the brain-o-matic to himself and then to the cage of bunnies, and he starts thinking real hard. He goes, I hate vegetables. Vegetables are the worst.
and
No vegetables.
their brain waves get caught in like the little compartment above his head, and then he's like, "All right, push the suck button." And so then Gromit pushes the suck button, and it takes those brain waves and puts it into the other cage, so that the brain waves are now being converted to the bunnies.
So now the bunnies are thinking, I hate vegetables. But then,
The lever gets hit, and the whatever opposite of suck would be the blow function. The blow function gets turned on, and the bunnies get shot out through the tube into the other part where Wallace's brain waves are. And then he makes contact noggin to noggin with a bunny, and he's like, oh, Wallace, turn it off.
you know how terrible it is when you get noggin to noggin contact with the bunny. It's a rough time. So,
Actually, I think that sounds like a magical experience. I will be honest with you.
well, regardless, Gromit turns it off. Wallace's like, oh, we had quite a bit of a scare there, but everything's okay.
And then they turn to the bunny that had made brain-to-brain contact, and he's like, "I don't like vegetables," or whatever. And they're like, oh, "It worked! It worked! The brain waves are transmitted successfully." And this poor little rabbit is just like scared stiff. Like, he can't move.
I mean, yeah, you can't move, and like everything you've desired is no
It's
longer
just
what you
now
desired.
stripped away from you.
Yep. In one swift moment.
And what is it replaced with, you ask? Well, we'll let you know later on.
Now, a little bit before this, we forgot to mention it, but Gromit is preparing his vegetable for the competition. And he's got a big old watermelon that he's growing in the backyard, protected in this greenhouse. And it's big. It's a big boy.
It's pretty massive, and he loves this thing.
Yeah.
He puts a heater blanket on it at night. He waters it like 3 times a day. He loves it. It's like his child. So now we go to
The first attack.
the first attack of the were-rabbit, correct?
Yeah.
You see a shot inside the workshop where the Antipesto has all the bunnies, and they're just like, you hear a big like rumbling, and all the bunnies are just terrified. Ah! And they're looking over at the bunny that had made contact with Wallace, and they're like, something's happening. So anyway, the first attack of the were-rabbit does happen, And what
It's
happens?
a massacre, man. All of these vegetables disappear.
That's right, because he
And
goes to the church. So Father Flaherty, Father McDuff, Father.
Father.
Continue.
Well, I forgot his name, but we're gonna call him Father. Father is out watering his radishes, I believe it was.
I think it was a radish, maybe a giant eggplant.
Yeah, he says this funny little prayer. He's like, "Dear Lord, thank you so much for our vegetables, and please make mine grow so big and so strong that they beat everybody else's at the competition."
A little competitive.
but that's all right for a
Not
father.
always what
you
you
know?
want out of your pastor, but it's all right.
It's not the worst thing, depending on how bad it becomes. But
True.
he goes out, he goes back into the church where he's preparing like this big table for like homeless people, or it just seems like a gift table of like vegetables come
donation.
eat kind of thing. Yeah.
He hears a rustling in the back.
Hello, who's there? And then he hears a little, Mrs. Wallace, is that you?
And then boom.
Oh, no, please.
And the were rabbit eats up all the stuff that is for the homeless people, which is like the worst option to have taken.
It is, but I mean,
Very cold-hearted. And then hops through the window of the church, leaving a big old were rabbit-shaped hole in the stained glass.
it's a scary moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the next morning, the town is in a riot. All of these vegetables have been destroyed. They're like, oh, what's going on? I thought our stuff was protected by anti-pesto.
Why are they doing their job?
What? Oh, you were trying?
That's when the police officer, who has the most egghead shape I've ever seen in my life, takes off his helmet and he says, "What I believe is that we have a prankster on our hands, and he's just going around and taking out all the competition." And that's when Father rolls himself in like he's on PTSD, and he's like, "I was there when it came through. We must repent of our sins. We have taken the competition too far, too far."
What are you saying, Father? There's a were rabbit.
Oh, that's it.
And everybody's figuring out, oh my goodness, what are we going to do? And in walks Victor Quartermain. He's like, yes, I know what we can do. Just like any old beast, we kill it.
Yay, Victor, he's going to kill the rabbit. And then that's when Lady Tottington says, "No, wait a minute." And then she has this little angel wings behind her and halo. She says, no, let's be humane about the whole situation. And everybody's like, "Sister, how are we going to be humane about this and not lose our vegetables?" And she says, "Auntie Pesto will come up with something. Won't you, Auntie?"
Oh, yes, we absolutely will.
What do you do for bigger rabbits?
Let me build a bigger trap.
That's brilliant.
And so
Everybody
Auntie
applauds.
Pesto sets off to build a big trap for the big were rabbit. And Victor Quartermain is salty.
Very salty. He's still going to go out and try to shoot the thing, though.
Yep. At night.
Yes.
They're driving around,
Yes,
and they've got
they have the big trap
a
set
big
up.
old woman rabbit on top of their van, and the plan is to allure the were rabbit with their own sexy big old rabbit.
it's a very janky thing.
And the reason Wallace thinks of this is because it's something like there's no bigger trap than love. Wallace is falling in love with Lady Tottingham.
Lady Tottington.
And so he understands that love would be a snare, you know? And so that's what he's going to use that against the were rabbit.
And so they have attached this thing to the top of their van, and they're driving through the village, trying to attract the were-rabbit. And Wallace is like, "Now let's see some cheeky moves." And Gromit does a little kick, hit, wink kind of action thing. It's real cheeky.
Gromit is puppeteering this thing
Yeah,
in the back. As they approach a tunnel.
Wallace is not. He's oblivious. He doesn't see it.
And so then they go. The truck goes to the tunnel, but the
big lady rabbit.
lady rabbit does not fit. She's too big, too thick, and so she falls off. And after the other side of the tunnel, Wallace is like, "Oh, it's okay, brother. I'll go get it."
We have got to work on your English accent.
I think it's spot on.
And so he's like, "Stay there, Wallace. Stay there, Gromit. I'll go get it and reattach it in a jiffy." And so then Gromit gets out and goes and sits in the front seat while he's waiting for Wallace to come back. And he's twiddling his fingers and he starts knitting.
Gromit's a talented individual.
He
He can
is a
grow a
very-
vegetable and he can knit.
Yeah. And
Ideal.
if you watch more of the episodes, he does a lot more too.
And then there's
Oh.
it's the were-rabbit. And so Gromit is trying to get Wallace's attention, and he's honking a horn, like waving everything. But Wallace too busy getting the lady rabbit back together.
He's
and
gone.
so Gromit takes things into his own hand and
he
starts
starts
chasing
chasing
down the were-rabbit in the truck.
And he goes around streets, he goes through fields, he goes through gardens and everything, and then he finally comes to the were-rabbit's big hole, which is just in somebody's backyard. And so then he has to make a decision. Is he going to go in the hole after the were-rabbit, or is he going to stay up and try to go find Wallace so that they can both chase after this thing? Well, he does the hero thing. He goes in the hole after it himself.
And so they're chasing down, and it is quite the chase. But
There's lots of mud being splattered up. The ground is getting destroyed. It's chaos.
And the whole time, the were-rabbit is finding ways to grab vegetables from the earth
he's
above.
eating on the run. This man knows what he wants.
This thing is just destroying everybody's hard work. And eventually, there's a rope that was attached to the were-rabbit, and
Right,
it gets
he had lassoed
destroyed.
him, yeah.
I think something fell in front of him that made him unable to do it, or something like that. That's what we're gonna say to give Gromit the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah. He goes back to the house, and by that time, it's the next morning. And Wallace is there, and all of the pictures with the people's eyeballs that they have like traps for and everything, they're all flashing red, which means that they have all sent out like a signal of like, come help us or whatever. And Wallace is like, I'll be with you in a minute. Now, where have you gotten off to, lad? You left me last night, and I needed you. And now look at this mess.
And so it's just a whole disaster. But I think that what they realize is they're like, oh, it must be a rabbit down below, the big one.
Oh, yeah, the one
who's been growing. I forget his name. They did name it.
They name him Chuck. They name him Chuck.
Chuck?
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Yeah.
That don't sound right.
Yeah, it's Chuck.
All right.
Yeah.
And so they find him because he's like partly escaped or something like that. And they trap him all up in the cage, lock him nice and tight. He's got like 30 million locks on him. It's a metal cage. And they're like, we've done it. We captured the were-rabbit. Everybody's up in arms and upset, but he's like, not to worry. The issue has been resolved.
And that's when we get a call from Lady Tottington, yes?
Yes. And she's like, oh, do come over.
And so Wallace is like, right away, my lady. And so he runs off, and he's like, wait a minute. We forgot a very essential part of this. The reason why Gromit came home is because he was following the footprints of the rabbit. And the rabbit prints led to inside their house. So he was following the rabbit prints, and they led to a door, and the door went downstairs.
Yeah.
So
and to like Chuck.
correct. So after Wallace runs off, Gromit goes back upstairs. He's like, okay, we got this whole thing wrapped up. We're good. Were-rabbit's in the cage. So then he closes the door to the basement, and then he sees that the footprints of the were-rabbit continue on down further the hallway. And so the were-rabbit actually hadn't gone downstairs. And so he keeps following it and following it.
And you see the footprint change from rabbit footprint into human footprint. And you're like, oh, man.
And he goes up the stairs all the way to Wallace's room. And in Wallace's bed is a load of vegetables. Womp, womp, womp.
Cut to Wallace and Lady Tottington getting their flirt on. And Wallace does his little and
she
you
does her
couldn't
little
visually see that, but it's he takes his fist and he shakes them.
Yeah,
and
like a little giddy.
Yeah,
it's like a giddy movement. Like,
yeah,
yay. It's cute.
Lady Tottington is all like, "Oh, would you like to see something I've never shown anyone?"
He's like, "Oh, I'd love to." Ooh.
And so they go up into her special place, which is the greenhouse. And she's like, "Would you like to see something even more secret?"
And he's like, "I'd love to, lady.
My big carrot."
And it's shaped like her hair. This entire time she was wearing clothes that resemble vegetables.
She's a vegetable.
Very vegetable.
Yeah.
So as she's showing off her garden to Wallace, that's when Gromit has realized that Wallace is the were-rabbit. So he makes his way to Lady Tottington's house, and he's trying to get Wallace's attention before the sun goes down. And so he throws like carrots or whatever to get their attention, but he doesn't get it.
Yeah, and while this is happening, Victor Quartermain is arriving to Lady Toddington's place to woo her over, and she sees Lady Toddington had invited Wallace, of all people, into the secret garden. And so he is out for blood.
Which, let's just assume he's never been invited to, right?
Oh, he's definitely never been invited to the secret garden. All right, if you want to get invited to the secret garden, you better treat your woman like a gentleman.
Yeah. That's a good way to put it.
I sense some hesitation here.
No, there's no hesitation in that at all. Just never heard it put that way before.
Well,
Gromit finally gets Wallace's attention, but how?
He sets off the sprinklers.
He sets off the sprinklers. That's what it is. So he throws like a potato or whatever, and he sets off the sprinklers, and that's when he gets his attention. And so Wallace and Gromit start driving back home, and Gromit is very frantic, and he's like worried.
And Wallace, he's mad, understandably, because he's kind of like, "Oi, why would you ruin my chance with Lady Tottington by making the sprinklers go off?"
You have a lot of explaining to do, lad. And Gromit's not really concerned about that. So they're going down this road very, very fast. And they come to a sign that says road closed. And you're like, oh no, what happened? So he turns off and he keeps going because they just got to get home right now, right? Because he's trying to get Wallace into the cage so that he can contain the were-rabbit. However, they come upon a fallen tree. And they're like, oh no, what is happening? Wallace gets out of the car and he's like, don't worry, lad, I'll get this off in the drift. And like he's going to lift it himself.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's a massive,
at
massive
this point,
tree.
Wallace has learned that he is indeed the were-rabbit.
I don't know if he's learned that he's a were-rabbit. I just think
I think he knows.
He's a crazy old man.
Yeah. Well, so he tries to do it, and then it's too late. The full moon is out, and the full moon happens every night of the week.
Apparently.
The transformation begins. Meanwhile, Victor shows up, and he's like, "Hey, I'm gonna fight you." And Wallace is like, "Oh, please don't fight me." And then he starts getting bigger and bigger.
And Victor is very surprised.
Yeah, he just survived. And
he was just going to beat down this old man, but instead he's starting to turn into a were-rabbit.
And the were-rabbit just throws him around like a sack of flour. And Nibbit,
the dog, his sidekick,
is like trying to get into the car with Gromit, but Gromit's blocking the doors. Victor is terrified, and the transformation is complete, and he throws the big old log and bounces off into the distance, and Gromit chases after him.
Well, before this happens, Victor gives Gromit a very nasty look of like, I know your friend is the were-rabbit, but I'm still going to shoot him. Now Gromit has very much incentive to go find the were-rabbit before anybody else does and kills him, because it's actually Gromit.
Yeah.
It's Wallace.
Yeah. So
I can't get him straight.
Victor goes to the priest. Father. And he's like, "Father, what is this thing?"
I have this book full of mysteries and wonders. And then he brings him to a table and he's like, I have a book for you. And he's like, this book? And it's nun wrestling. It's a magazine. And he's like, no, this book. And he shows them this big book of like mythological creatures and whatnot. And clearly, were-rabbit is one of them. And he's like, the only thing that can kill this rabbit is a bullet.
Oh, yeah? I've got bullets?
No. It has to be a special kind of bullet.
What kind of special bullet?
A silver bullet. And he has 3 of them for whatever reason.
Nope, it's a gold bullet.
It's a gold bullet.
And so he's got 3 gold bullets. So Victor had 3 shots to get this thing.
And so he takes off and he starts hunting down Wallace. We go to the next day, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, and at this time, people believe that the were-rabbit has already been captured.
Yes, because Antipesto proclaimed it that way.
Yeah.
The festival's still on, competition's still on, right? They were going to shut it down if the were-rabbit wasn't caught, but he's been caught. So festival's on. They set up the fairgrounds and everything. They got everybody's vegetables on full display. The thing is happening.
When Wallace and Gromit make it back to the house, I think this is happening during or a little after the golden bullet situation. And they're trying to figure out like what's been going on. And they're in the basement. And they're like, whatever happened to Chuck? And what happened to him is he has been turning into Wallace. And he's like, I'm just absolutely crackers about cheese.
That was good.
And they're like, oh no. And so they've got this big old rabbit wearing a sweater now. and he's munching on cheese, and they're trying to figure it out. And so they want to make another brain-o-matic, but Wallace is becoming too stupid, too rabbit-like to be able to do it. But then, thankfully, Chuck Glad can get it all working together because he's now the new Wallace.
Yep. So he starts putting the Brain-O-Matic back together, and so they just have to wait for that to happen, and then they can do the Uno reverse card, and everything will be fine. And that's when Lady Tottington comes to Wallace and Gromit's house, and she's like, "Is Wallace here? I wanted to take him to the competition or whatever."
She's basically trying to confess her feelings and everything, and Wallace is just like, I'm sorry, come later.
Because he starts turning into the were-rabbit as she's talking to him, so he has to like put on a hat to cover up. He has to hide his hands behind the door. Yep. And then he tries to wave goodbye with his tongue at the end, and it was a very bad idea because it just looked like he was sticking his tongue out at her.
Yeah,
but
so Lady Tottington starts crying.
Yeah, because
she just got rejected by the love of her life, and so but she's on her way to the vegetable thing. The transformation has begun, and Victor is like determined to kill Wallace.
He's coming up the driveway. He's got the gold bullets. He's ready to shoot him.
Yep. And so thus begin Gromit and Wallace trying their best to get out of the way of Victor. And they're hopping around, and Gromit comes up with the brilliant plan to get into the Lady Bunny outfit, and so Victor like, yes, there he is, and starts chasing after and shoots the Lady Bunny, but alas, it is merely Gromit in a costume, and does not hit Gromit. Gromit's fine.
And well, the village people either see this or they hear this, and they're I can't remember exactly how it goes,
but they see that he's alive, but then they see it get shot.
Yeah. And so they're all like, let us take a moment to mourn the loss of a creature. Yeah! And then they, party back on.
Yeah.
Victor walks up to the rabbit that he shot, and he tries to pick up its head, but it tears off, and he's like, what the devil? It's the costume rabbit. It's the lady rabbit. And out pokes his head, Gromit, and they put him in a cage, and they're like, this time your friend won't get away from us.
Yep. So Victor is on his way to chase down Wallace, and Gromit is stuck in a cage. I think at this point he has fired 2 of his shots.
He's fired one. He's fired one.
I thought he fired one in the house.
No.
Okay.
So he fires one when he shoots the lady rabbit.
Yep.
And then he goes over to the festival, and he goes up to the father, or he goes up to the police officer, and he's like, I don't want to start a panic, but the rabbit isn't actually dead yet.
The rabbit isn't actually dead yet. Oh my goodness.
So everybody's frantically screaming and running around, trying to grab their vegetables and go to leave. And that's when Victor shoots his gun in the air, and he's like, quiet! I only have 1 gold bullet left. Now I need to use your vegetables as a lure for this rabbit to come. And so he's going to use everybody's food as bait. And this one old lady, who was the lady who was saved in the very beginning of the movie, it was her garden. She takes her vegetable, puts it in this like baby carriage thing, and starts rolling it away. She's like, "It's not gonna get my baby."
And they're like, "Oh no, come back here, come back here, come back here."
And then the were-rabbit underground starts chasing her, and then you see this big hill that's behind her.
Yeah, and they're like, "Actually, no, go away, go away, go away."
Because she turns around and starts coming back at everybody. And so he jumps out of the ground. The were-rabbit's bounding and leaping and about to catch the lady. And that's when
Chuck, a.k.a. Bunny Wallace, frees Gromit from the cage.
Right, yep.
And they get into the antipesto vehicle and vroom, 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 make their way up to the vegetable competition.
That's right. What Gromit does is he ties a rope to the back of the truck, and then he ties a rope around his watermelon, his prized watermelon, which was probably won. And he's riding it, and they zoom past the were-rabbit as he's about to catch the lady, and that takes his attention away because now he's on to,
the big old watermelon.
The big old watermelon.
And they're chasing, and the watermelon gets destroyed.
Unfortunately, it's
Tragic.
so
It's a
sad.
beautiful. Well, it's
He basically-
green on the inside, so it makes me question what was happening. I think Gromit may have done some unethical like growth hormones
It was
or
on
something like
roids
that.
or something.
Watermelons are,
It was
are
juiced.
red or
It was
pink,
juiced on the
you know.
inside.
At some point, another shot goes off.
Yeah.
I
Well,
don't remember when.
At some,
Because
yeah.
because
Well,
then Victor, I think he tries to. I think he's about to shoot.
the bunny gets up on the roof, the building
Well-
somehow.
What I recall happening, I think, I think when he gets distracted by the watermelon is when a shot went off with the thing, and so then that's when Victor decides to take the golden carrot that they use for the trophy, and that's gonna be his last golden bullet now to take out Wallace.
Oh, and we forget that while Victor's trying to shoot the were-rabbit during this whole thing, this whole escapade, he reveals that he knows it's Wallace, and Lady Toddington's like, "You know that's Wallace, and you still trying to shoot him? You're a monster."
Yeah, and
And so
later
that's when-
Toddington figured out that it was Wallace around the same time or a similar time because he did his little
His little
the little hand
yeah.
gesture.
And so she starts attacking Victor, and Victor starts, pushing her off and being rude, very, very rude. And that's when Wallace, the were-rabbit, sees this, and he's not having any part of it. So he goes over, he grabs Lady Toddington, and that's when he goes up on the roof, all
Yeah,
King Kong style. Yeah.
Yep.
And so
Me-
then Victor heads up onto the roof with the gold trophy as his last gold bullet.
Yep. And meanwhile, Nivek and Gromit start getting into a fight, and they take the carousel that had little plane and use them as real planes. So now we've got dogs in a dog fight.
Dogs in a dogfight, that's right. And so they're up on the ledge of the roof. They're going back and forth, hitting each other, tearing up planes and whatnot. They eventually run out of money in their planes,
Yeah.
and they come to a stop on the ledge, and
Nivek is like choking
He's,
out
like, choking Gromit.
and it's like, wait.
and they both just sit up, and he's like, "Here, take this stick," and Gromit reaches into his pocket. He only has like a quarter and like some buttons or something like that. And then Nivek has, he pulls out his little flower purse and reaches in, puts in a couple quarters, and then they go back to their pose of him choking Gromit.
Yeah.
It's a really good moment.
Gromit is able to unleash some escape contraption that dropped Nivek out of the sky.
Yep.
And he flies his way to rescue Wallace. Wallace is now not holding Lady Toddington anymore. He's on like a clock tower or something like that. And Quartermain lines up his shot. It's perfect.
And everything goes slow motion, except for Gromit, he's going like super speed at this point.
Yeah. Well, you know what? When you love somebody, you'll go super speed for them.
True. Would you go super speed for me?
Absolutely. In a heartbeat.
That is pretty fast.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
So Gromit does this cool thing where he grabs like the flagpole, he does a little loop-de-loop, he comes around and takes the bullet in the side of his plane before it hits Wallace. And so they're all happy, and then he goes off and his plane starts to crash because it took out the engine. And then that's when Wallace then sacrifices himself and jumps from the clock tower or whatever it is that he's on, and he grabs the plane, and they crash through the tent at the bottom. And it looks like, he died. That's when Lady Toddington walks in, and the were-rabbit is there. But then he starts to transform back into his original Wallace self, which brings up a question that I have had for many years.
Yeah. Shoot.
This whole time, all Wallace needed was a hard kick in the head to lose this curse of the were-rabbit deal.
Yeah.
Like, that's all it was? Like, you just had to fall off the building?
The same thing, because being up, like, building the Brain-O-Matic, and it never comes back again.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Yeah, he just needed to get hit in the head.
Well, and so poor Chuck, right? His whole thing of being like the hero, now null and void.
What?
The whole him building the Brain-O-Matic was useless.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And so now he's just gonna be a really smart rabbit, I guess.
Yeah.
Or a really dumb rabbit.
Until he gets hit in the head.
But anyway, so there they are. They're mourning Wallace because it looks like he's dead. He is now fully transformed back. But then they're like, I know just the thing, because there is Chuck. He's in the side of the tent eating cheese because he still has that.
He's got that
thing.
the need for cheese.
The need for cheese. And that's when Gromit has the idea. He grabs the cheese out of Chuck's hand and he puts it under Wallace's nose, and you see a little green fumes going up. And then we see him. And sure enough, he's alive. He's back and better than ever. But he's also naked.
Yep.
And so
He gets up and got a hug Lady Toddington, and she's like, "Ooh, I don't know about that."
So Gromit puts up a box, and the box says, may contain nuts. Good joke. Man, these Canadians, they know their humor.
Ooh, maybe.
And so Wallace is saved. Gromit is happy because his best friend's there. Lady Toddington's happy because her lover is alive. Aww. And all the monies are safe. And in the midst of all this, Victor Quartermain has ended up on a wind, whatever that's called. What's the...
Like a windmill?
No, the wind direction.
Wind direction thing. Yeah, he ended up on one of those, and then he somehow...
He's mooning everybody.
He's
his
mooning
pants caught on
everybody.
it, so you see his cheeks.
Yep. And then he gets somehow thrown into... Or they put him. He's unconscious, and they put him into the were-rabbit outfit.
Yes, so that all the village people think that...
Yeah, all the village people, they see this lady were-rabbit come out of the tent, and they're like, "It's the were-rabbit!" And so they start chasing it down with pitchforks, and...
So they're out there. You can assume that they eventually caught him and they killed the guy.
Well, I have to assume they caught him, and it was like a real Scooby-Doo moment. And they're like, "It's been you the whole time," and he was like, "It wasn't me, it was Wallace." And they probably were like, "Lion," hung him at the gallows.
Wow, this is a violent village in your mind.
Well, you know, they had the pitchfork and everything. I was getting some real like Salem vibes.
Now it is a happy ending ever after. They go back to Lady Toddington's place. She's like, "This will no longer be my home. This will be a sanctuary for all rabbits." And they use the bunny-o-matic or whatever it is, and they shoot all the bunnies back into the ground, and they all pop up out of the holes. And it's a wonderful moment, and we end up on a smiling rabbit.
Yeah, and well, Wallace helped set this all up, and Lady Toddington's like, "Oh, I do wish you could be here all the time." And Wallace is oblivious. He's like, "Well, there's gonna be a part of me always here," and it's Chuck.
It's Chuck. It's not him.
Come on, dude.
My man can't take a hint. So I guess you could say that's the first takeaway: is don't be oblivious.
Mm-hmm. Be aware on the signs that are being emitted out to you.
Yes.
Like if a lady said to you, "I wish you were here all the time."
She's talking about you, dog.
Yeah.
But what's another takeaway?
Don't use growth hormones in your vegetables.
That's pretty good.
Because it might let you win.
Let's get those
that's
non-GMOs.
True, but it turned out to be like green and growth looks on the inside. And it's like that's not what you want. Is there a third one, Dutch?
I guess I would say that toupees. If you're gonna wear a toupee,
yeah,
wear a stylish toupee. Okay, we don't want any 1920. Just wear it tastefully, okay?
Yeah, and stay away from bunny-o-matics, just in case they start sucking.
Again, it's that whole awareness thing, right? If you have a toupee, probably be aware of windy days, right?
Yeah.
And holes that might suck your toupee off.
Yeah, you really got to watch out for those. Just the other day, walking along, a foot stuck right in there.
Oh, darn. How'd you get out?
I don't remember. Blacked out. All I saw was red, and then I got out.
Well, you got both feet, so that's good. But thank you guys so much for listening. This has been Wack and Trash Recap. It's been very enjoyable doing this episode with you.
Indeed. And because we didn't do it at the beginning, I'm a host, Stephen Mitchell.
And I'm your host, Zetch Olson. And thank you for our editor, Benjamin Olson.
Mm-hmm. If you have any sort of movie recommendations or suggestions, or you just want to say what up, then you can always email us at wackandtrash@gmail.com. We always enjoy reading things.
Yes, even if we don't respond, I'm so sorry. We're just bad at reading emails or responding.
Well,
emails.
we're great at reading emails.
We're just bad at responding.
Yeah, exactly.
We will see it. We will see it. But thank you guys so much. Hope to see you again on another episode.
And remember, stay crackers about cheese.